San Francisco. Back in 1860, what they did, they always came into Sacramento and they put it on a steamboat and they took it down to San Francisco. 3 times it missed the boat. So the rider had to take off and on down through Sassoon Bay and Benicia, on down into San Francisco. The only issue with that is this year we're doing it, we're putting it on a boat, and we're bringing up the deltas at Sacramento just like they did. Because if you can imagine trying to get a horse down Interstate 80 right now, it's not going to work. So the Highway Patrol would not be very friendly with us. So we're not doing that. We're putting it on a boat, and it'll take about 12 hours to get up the delta to Sacramento. And then on June 7th, the actual ride will start on horseback. And we're going to leave at 11 o'clock from Old Sacramento, and then we're going to take off. And this year it's a commemorative ride. And what I mean by that is, because it's a commemorative ride, it's 150th national, the national organization has decided that we want to publicize this ride as much as possible because it's 150th. So we are not going to ride at night this year. Good. So we're riding all day long on June 7th. We're going to stop at a little fresh pond that's right above Pollock Pines. It's a little outpost. They have like a trading store, gas station, things like that. We're not going to be utilizing the gas, okay, because we don't need the gas. The next day we're going to start at 5:30 in the morning and we're going to take it on over into Nevada, and we'll turn it over to Nevada around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So, and then the California's done. This year, normally it takes 10 days to do this ride. This year it's going to take 24. When we ride, we carry letters, and you can buy these letters. And when you come up here to look, you can see these are some of the letters that have been carried on the re-ride. You can buy these letters for $5. I have ride letter applications right here. Feel free to take as many as you want. And what you do for these letters is you fill this out and mail $5 to this address, and then after the end of the re-ride, you'll receive one of these letters. And they're kind of collectors really like these. So this year we're only carrying 900 of these. So once they're gone, they're gone. And it's pretty unique because it is the 150th anniversary. The trail. Now the trail goes Highway 50. We go Old Sacramento along the American River Bike Trail. Then we come through Folsom. And then we hit Green Valley Road up through Rescue. Come across Shingle Springs Road. Go up Mother Lode, I believe it is. I just drive it and ride it. I don't know it. And then we hit Diamond Springs and we cut back over to Placerville and we go up that way through Pollock Pines. And once we hit Pollock Pines, we go back into the woods. Now, if you're ever walking or hiking up there above Pollock Pines on the north side of the freeway, and you come across something that looks like this nailed to a tree, you're on the original Pony Express Trail. Okay? We are volunteers. Cindy is our trail coordinator, and she works for the Forest Service also, and she's pretty much in charge of getting work crews out there to maintain that trail. We have a contract with the Park Service to maintain that trail and keep that historical trail intact for walkers, riders, anybody that wants to use that trail. So it's quite an undertaking. So, and Cindy is about ready to get swamped. And the reason I say that is usually after the snow, there's usually anywhere from 50 to 75 trees down across the trail. So we have to go up there, and before our ride in June, we have to go up there and cut the trees out of the way and clear it. It has to be 6 feet wide, 12 feet tall for the horse to get through, and all the way through. And that usually takes place from Pollock Pines to Eccles and Mochia. And every year we carry a brand new Mochia, okay? And every year there's called a host state. Last year was Nebraska. This year is Wyoming. In 2006, we were the host state. The host state is in charge of having the Mochia made. You have a ride pin. You'll notice we have pins. I'll get into the pins. But that for the host state that year has to do the artwork and have a ride pin. They also put on the national convention. So last year, and the convention usually lasts 2 to 3 days. Last year, I was in Kearney, Nebraska. Year before that, I was in Carson City, Nevada. Year before that, I was in St. Joseph, Missouri. 2006, we were in California. This is one of the mochillas. This is from 2006. You're more than welcome to come up and look at it. You'll notice signatures on here. And what we do is once the rider gets done with his ride, we hand him a felt pen and we tell him to sign this mochilla, because that makes it a lot more fun for the riders, because wherever this mochilla goes now, these names go with it. So you'll look on here and you might see somebody's name and it might say Nebraska. Well, that person lives in Nebraska, but they rode on this mochilla. So it makes it a lot more fun for the riders, and that way it's just, because I'll be the first one to tell you that we go all year long to get this thing and get it ready to go, okay, the ride. You may have Gary, Jesse, Cindy, they might be up there, say, a place called Weber Mill Road. That's up out of Ice House, okay? I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. That's up before you get to Kivers. 2 o'clock in the morning, prime example. They're going up there. You have to be ready to ride 2 hours in advance, because if it's coming from Missouri, it could be anywhere from 6 hours behind. It could be 3 hours ahead. We don't know. So I require my riders to be up there 2 hours ahead of schedule. They've taken all year long to get ready for this thing. They get their horses out. They drive up there. They're up there 2 hours ahead of schedule. That section of trail, you might have 19 minutes to do that section of trail. The adrenaline's flowing. Everybody's excited. Here comes this mail pouch full of mail that's come all the way across. Over 550 riders have been on this thing, and they're about ready to hand it off to you. It's exciting. 2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, the adrenaline's flowing. Here comes the rider in. They take it off, they put it on your horse, you swing up in the saddle, you take off. You ride for 2.5, 3 miles. You run across another rider. Same thing happens. You hop off, take that, put it on the next horse, that rider takes off. You're standing there. Everybody's gone. We talk about a letdown. It's like, okay, all year long, and this thing lasted 20 minutes. But it's the romanticism. I guess that's a correct word. The romantic part of it, it's pursuing the history of it. How many people can say that they actually rode it on the Pony Express Trail, 2 o'clock in the morning, carried a mail pouch that's identical to the one they carried in 1860, and you were in a chain of over 550 riders to get this thing to Missouri. Not very many people can say that. And it's a fun thing. I mean, I got in this thing to ride my horse in some pretty unique places, and I can say I have, right down South Lake Tahoe Boulevard, all around Old Sacramento, ridden in the Folsom Rodeo. I've been in the State Fair, California State Fair. I've ridden in a lot of unique places, and it's not just the riding, it's pushing the history of the Pony Express. Pony Express only lasted 18 months. Russell Majors and Waddell, they owned the Overland Stage and Freight Company. They went to Congress and said, hey, we can get the mail from Missouri to Sacramento in 10 days or less. The fastest run was in 7 days and 18 hours. Okay, so it could be done. So the government, I'm not trying to bash on the government here, but the government promised a contract of $100,000 if they could do it. Well, it cost them about $800,000 to put this endeavor on and to go through the 18 months. Telegraph put them out of business, okay? But it would take a piece of mail roughly 4 to 6 months on a stagecoach or around the Horn on a ship to get to Sacramento. These guys did it in the fastest time, like I said, was 7 days. Average time was 10 days. Longest time was 12 days. Federal government never coughed up a dime for their endeavors. Russell Majors and Waddell ended up dying penniless.
My name's Jess Davis, and I'm one of the riders for the Pony Express, and this will be my 3rd year. that I've gotten to ride, and it's pretty exciting to get out there and do what I do. I enjoy the fact that I get to be involved in the organization that I'm involved in, and I'm pretty proud of it. We do a lot of good things, and we represent a lot of good people. A lot of family members get out there and participate with us too, so it's a lot of fun. We get to get out and stretch our legs a little bit, and use our horses for something different besides just general get out and go. But it's a lot of fun to get out and do what we do. Last year I participated in Gold Rush Days, and I got to ride a little bit down there, and it's a learning experience for me, and it's been a lot of fun. To each of us, it means a different thing to carry the machia and to be able to put our names on it and to have it go across the country. That's pretty meaningful too. For a woman to be able to participate in the Pony Express, because women were not allowed to back then, this is a big thing for women today to be able to participate in Pony Express, because at that time men were the only ones that were allowed to carry the mail. So this has been a learning experience also, because the last 10 years, women have been allowed to participate in Pony Express, and it's been a pretty exciting venture for us to get out there and show the men exactly what the women can do. Yes. But anyway, I'm just proud to be a part of it and proud to be involved in it. And this year's 150th anniversary, and we've got a lot of things going on. That one of them that we're going to do is Folsom Rodeo, and that's a time tradition. Boy, Folsom's been around for a long time, and it's pretty special to be able to be involved in that. And
I just wondered what exactly you do at the rodeo.
well, we're going to try to do some of the grand entry things. We're going to be doing some exchanges in between events, I hope, is what we're going to do. And then we're going to do the cattle drive down Main Street. We're participating in that. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun this year. And then we're doing Gold Rush Days again, and State Fair. We're looking forward to that too. So we've got a lot of things going on this year that we're excited about and involved in, and we're looking forward to.
Back in the 1800s, a lot of women struggled, had a lot of difficulties trying to fit in. I mean, and there was, it's documented a couple of times that a few women would dress up and lead a life of a man. And they got away with it until it came time for an autopsy. Then they got caught. But, so there is speculation that there might have been one or two riders in the Pony Express that were girls. It's not documented. But to be honest with you, I mean, when we started this thing, we tried to adhere to the days of old. And like I say, we do the original Pony Express oath. We wear the uniform that they did back in the 1860s. They were issued a Bible when they became a Pony Express rider. We issue our members a Bible. There's one of them right there. I think I got one too, somewhere. But yeah, so there it is. So we still do a lot of the stuff that the old guard, so to speak, did, and then we decided that, you know, times are changing. We have to be flexible. So we did let women start riding, and that was roughly in the late 80s, early 90s. I'll be honest with you right now. If it wasn't for the women, this club would not be in existence. Just for the mere fact that in California, our membership's roll, I'm going to have to say maybe 60% are women. My hat's off to them. And I've seen some women that, like Jesse said, can embarrass a guy rider. Unfortunately. I mean, I have to say it. I mean, but it's a sad thing that we did that, but they were trying to preserve the old Pony Express. I can see why. I'm glad that they finally decided to let women ride. Because like I said, if it wasn't for the women, I don't see the Pony Express existing, the National Pony Express. Because they have saved our bacon numerous times.
Well, my name is Cindy. I've been involved with Pony Express for the last 3 years. I've also been kind of involved with the Pony Express back in 1960. I helped dedicate a plaque up in Myers, Tahoe Paradise, whatever you want to call it. And my folks have been involved in that for a little bit, and then we just kind of faded out on that. But the exciting thing is, like Jess said, was carrying the mail, getting involved. And this year they elected me as trail advisor. And so I'm hopefully we'll get the trails up and running for everybody and help them. And I also work for the Forest Service. So I have a little bit advantage of working with them and stuff, and they do know me quite a bit.
Thank you. I touched on earlier about the pins. The host state every year has a pin made. So I would take my vest off and pass it around, but it's kind of heavy and bulky. But you can see, I don't know if you can see, but every year the host state has a pin designed and made, and then that way the riders get a pin for each year they ride. So unfortunately, I've ridden a whole bunch. And also they have, in the Bibles, this is our saving grace, we also have a Pony Express stamp. And every year you ride, you get your Bible stamped. So I'll pass this around. It also has the Pony Express, Russell Majors, and Waddell official stamp. And then each horse is a year that I've ridden. And you'll see the horse is going different directions every year. So that will tell you that it either came, if the horse is facing this way, it came from Missouri. If it faces this way, it left from Sacramento. So, because every year we alternate.
My job is to get ham operators stationed at different exchanges and report when the rider comes in and when he leaves. So that, and then I also have a ham following Rich, the ride captain, and I also have a ham following the ride lieutenants. So there can be communications from the lieutenant to the, because final decision of what to do is always in his hands, so he has to know. I have, I think, a lot of the most fun because I have to be at all the exchanges, different ones. I have to place the hams at the different spots. And there are in California, there's 44 different places. And trying to figure out where in the heck these cotton picking exchanges were was a kind of a difficult time because all they had was the description of like Khyber's Dump. Well, where in the heck is Khyber's Dump? And I finally went to the Chamber of Commerce in Placerville and got one of their topo maps of El Dorado County, and then went over to his house and said, "Where are these things?" And we finally, now I know where they are, and so I can take the ham operators and they will wait there, and when the ride comes in, they'll report to what we call a net control, which tells Rich the rider's in, and then he's out at what time. And then he can realize where it is in the progression going. California has been I think right now there are radio clubs that help 3 states, California, in Nevada. Nevada takes over in Woodford's, and that's the Sierra Intermountain Emergency Radio Association that takes care of Nevada all the way across from, it'll be from Woodford's all the way over to the Utah border.
You'll notice that there's highway patrol. There's numerous agencies that help us out. I sent them a letter next week. Letting them know the date, the time, and the time that we're going to be in their jurisdiction. And like Folsom, for example. Folsom is great. And the reason I say that, we come off the bike trail, we come into Folsom, and invariably there's 4 motorcycle cops and a cop in a car. And I'd never seen this done, but in Folsom, if you go back on the books, there's still some laws that are kind of funky from way back when that are still in effect. Did you know it's not illegal? I can ride a horse down Main Street of Folsom and not get a ticket. Okay, I can stop my horse at the stoplight and then go on the green light and I won't get a ticket. Things like that. But I like Folsom because when we leave the History Museum and we head out Sutter Street, cut over to Thomas and go out the Green Valley, we have a police escort. We have 4 motorcycle cops, one in front, one in back, and one on each side. And then we have a police officer in a car in front of us. It's always been kind of a question for the riders. Okay, I'm going through a town. Do I stop at a red light? Okay, well, you got cars going across traffic, so what do you think? Okay, you're gonna have to stop. But Folsom, you will get a ticket if you stop on the reread, because they want you out of town quick. So they put on the red lights and everything else. And I had a rider that was escorted by 4 motorcycle cops and a cop car, and they stopped at that light, and they had a nice little talking to from that officer at the end of their ride. Said, don't you ever stop when you have a police escort like that, because they want to avoid any traffic jams or anything like that, get you out of town as fast as possible, which works good for us because that's our goal, get out of town.
Run it through a little bit of it's a reenactment, run it through a little bit of a course and then come back, switch the mochila to another horse. We'll do that 3 or 4 times. That's pretty much the way they got the mail across the country, except for instead of going in circles, they went in a straight line.
The Pony Express only lasted 19 months, but it proved the central route passable year-round. Within a short, before it even ended, the overland mail came over. Starting in July of 1861, they carried got 16 bags of mail by stagecoach across on the central route, and the overland telegraph was built on the central route, and that's what put the Pony Express out of business. But we're here today because the Pony Express is not only history, but it's a legend and it's a romance that represents the Old West. Did the riders carry guns? Yes. When they first started off, they had a rifle and a bugle. Well, when you could hear a horse, from a distance, and after a while they knew about what time it was going to be there, so they did away with the bugle. They didn't need a rifle because it was heavy and they could outrun the Indian ponies and bandits because they fed the horses very good. They carried a Navy Colt. I believe it was a Navy Colt. I want to say 1858. And from time to time, we have reproductions of those. In fact, this year, there's a lot of commemorative rifles. There's a commemorative rifle and a commemorative pistol that's been produced. But they went very lightweight. Very lightweight. The saddle only was a McClellan saddle, only weighed about 13 pounds. These are Western saddles that we use.
Were the riders typically smaller in stature?
People in those days were shorter, although there were some tall people. Right, they really needed to be about 130 pounds. They wanted young people, and most of them were really young. Some of the older riders, in Utah there were some riders that were 30 years old or so.
That was old.
That was old. In California, we know by name of about 3 or 4 riders. Thomas Bedford, who carried the mail in Solano County, he crossed on a Carquinez ferry boat in the summer of 1860. And William Hamilton, who carried the mail from Sacramento to Sportsman's Hall in Pollock Pines, and Warren Upson, who carried the mail from Sportsman's Hall over to probably Genoa.
Did they carry
They carried what?
They carry cash?
No,
Not
no,
gold, but-
letter mail, no, just letter mail and telegrams. That in the letter mail, they carried dispatches from St. Louis, and the mail that they carried, telegrams, had domestic news and they had international news. When they dropped the telegrams off in Outer Telegraph Station in Carson City, by the time the rider got to Sacramento, the news was in the pages of the Daily Union and the Sacramento Bee and other newspapers. They, just like a newspaper today that has commodity prices, the Daily Alta in San Francisco carried the commodity prices from Chicago that the Pony Express brought. The Pony Express, the news that it carried, it cut in half the amount of time that it took for news to get from the Missouri River to San Francisco. And so that revolutionized the way business was done. And in part, it eliminated the 3-week float or the 6-week float. We know one, and one mochila was lost. Billy Tate in Nevada, Utah Territory then. He was killed during the Paiute Indian War, Pyramid Indian War of May 1860. By Indians, yes. During the life of the Pony Express, about 16 station agents were killed, though, because the Pony Express rider could kind of outrun the traffic. They did have problems with thieves. They did have problems with wild animals. Horses would go 12 to 15 miles.
At that kind of a pace right there, pretty much?
Yeah, 8 to 11 miles an hour.
How often did a horse get like a step in a hole, break a leg? And then...
We don't know that. But you know what happened? What we get the indications when they first started, they didn't estimate the distances too well, and they probably ran some horses into the ground, and that's where they kind of consolidated things. What they used as far as eventually they had 190 stations between St. Joe and San Francisco. But a lot of those were contract stations, and they used existing inns and lodges between St. Joe and Salt Lake, but they built them from scratch from Salt Lake to Carson City. If you want to see what one looks like the Ruby Valley Station, next time you're through Elko, go down Idaho Street to the Northern Nevada Museum. It's right on the main drag there at Idaho Street, and you'll see it. And it's just a small, that's probably just part of it, but it's just a small shack with what looks like fence posts upright.